Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Off to a late start. Actually, I thought I was I was live and I was just talking to myself. But I am Gloria Ware, CEO and Capital Co-Pilot of GTB Advisors and Get the Bag. Our primary focus is connecting business owners and business support organizations that support business owners to capital, financial, social capital, and customer capital. And I leverage my 30 plus years experience working across a number of funding sectors, from banking to venture capital to philanthropy, and my passion for uh, making social impact. And I bring all of those to this work. So I've actually been in business for 5 years. So have learned a lot, over the course of those 5 years, and I have a big passion for research. So I thought this could be a really good opportunity for us to have a discussion on, what's happening at the national level with Black-owned businesses. There's been a lot of news recently relating to access to capital and diversity, equity, inclusion initiatives, which affect our ability to secure contracts and capital and grow. And wanted to create a forum and opportunity um, for us to have a conversation about it. So before we get started, though, I want to highlight an event that I'm having in partnership with the PNC Fairfax Connection, which is a community organization located in Cleveland, Ohio's Fairfax neighborhood, right in the middle of the city, which offers programming for young families with children, teens. They've got STEAM programming and small businesses. Normally, the events that we have are at the PNC Fairfax Connection, but for we have an upcoming event on September 26th in which we are going to have it at a local neighborhood business. And the owner of the business is Melissa Garrett Hirsch, and she is the president of UnBar Cafe, which is a community and gathering spot in the Larchmere neighborhood, a very diverse and popular neighborhood in the city of Cleveland. And she's actually expanding to another location as well. So we'll be having the event at her new event space at the UnBar Cafe, and it'll be a conversation featuring Melissa, Brad Bowling, who is a media entrepreneur. He is the president of Code Media Group. And I just enjoyed reading his digital version of his magazine, Code M Magazine, which contains a lot of information about entrepreneurship, community impact, lifestyle, just kind of as business owners are people that need to have a well-rounded life. So offers really good tips for managing a business, um, and taking care of oneself. And then features success stories of business owners from across the country. And finally, we have Tenora Edwards, who is the founder of the Pink and Black Honors Awards, which is a huge initiative here in the city of Cleveland. She launched it last year, celebrating the success of Black-owned businesses, Black entrepreneurs. When some were not Black entrepreneurs, but entrepreneurs in the city of Cleveland, and those that weren't from here. We had some businesses that weren't necessarily from Cleveland that were also participated in the event. But it was a big event, big success. I was blessed enough to be one of the honorees for the inaugural event last year, and this year's event was, even bigger and better. So Tenora, Brad, and Melissa have a big platform in the community. They are not only entrepreneurs themselves, but they are respected by and work with and coach and mentor a number of other businesses in the community. So we thought it would be great for them to talk to us about what they're hearing and what they're seeing as it relates to the state of Black businesses in the area. So let's get into this conversation about some of the data points. The format of uh, today's live stream is very informal. I'm just going to share some statistics and data that I have been kind of curating as it relates to what's happening in 2024 with Black-owned businesses. We've got a big election coming up. in November. And so we want to make sure that people were up to speed on, what's happening now and thinking about what you want to hear and what you need and what Black businesses need from the future, the next administration. So, first of all, there are 77%. I think this came from a Black Enterprise um, magazine article. 77% of Black professionals want to start their own business within the next year. So that is a huge number. Um, I'm honestly not surprised. I mean, these are, I think, in our community, many of us have aspirations to start businesses. A lot of this is being driven by Gen Z, and it's a big opportunity for policymakers, for those who support business owners, for those who care about the economy, because businesses create jobs and drive economic impact and generate revenue for communities. So, if there's an opportunity to take people that are Black professionals and help them to successfully grow a business and drive that impact, we are presented with a big opportunity to upgrade, I guess, the experience for new Black owned businesses. So I'm going to share my screen and go to an interesting statistic on the number of Black businesses, number of business startups first, and then kind of what's happening with Black businesses in general. So let me go to share screen. I think it is second here. Okay. So, first of all, there has been a huge surge in the number of people in general starting businesses. And I think, prior to the pandemic, we were looking at maybe 3 million business starts a year on average. And with the pandemic, and we all know there's various reasons that this happened, that number surged. I think it surged to, it was like 5.5 million business starts, and it hasn't really stopped. So we're averaging at least 5 million business starts a year. So these are just new businesses coming on board every year. And a big number of those starting businesses are for people of color, are Black people. About 25% of those are people of color owned businesses. And some of the reasons that people say that they want to start their business, they want to have more income, they want to be their own boss, they want to have the ability to balance work and family, and they feel like it's the best avenue for them to have their own hours, and or they just want to have more flexibility. So interesting. There's currently 3.7 million Black owned businesses, 52%, which are women owned. And many of these businesses, so 48% of the businesses owned by firm age, this is coming from these are businesses that have employees, um, are less than 2 years old or 2 years or less. And then 19% are 3 to 5 years. So these are businesses that are in a very kind of precarious situation right now. They're still early, they're still young, they're learning. And with the pandemic, there was a great opportunity to start a business. Number one, because you could, you had more time. And not maybe not everyone, but there was more time that more people were working from home. Many people were laid off, so they were starting businesses as a way to generate income. Many people had difficulty finding childcare, so they were starting businesses to have more income and some flexibility with that situation. There were stimulus checks, so more people had money to spend. And then due to the murder of George Floyd, there was a huge interest in supporting Black-owned businesses. Um, you know, for many reasons. And so there was a surge in interest in Black-owned businesses from corporations or individuals. Um, a lot of that has changed, obviously, based upon what we've been reading in the news. The number of grants, there were economic recovery dollars, it was payroll protection loans, and underwriting was pretty streamlined, even though a lot of Black business owners were challenged with securing that type of even PPP loans. Um, but you can see kind of what the conditions were uh, for starting businesses and why people would saw 2020 as an opportunity to do that. Um, so let's see. Most of the businesses, 42% of Black firms are concentrated in health and healthcare and social assistance, as well as professional and technical services. So that would be specifically 28% of Black owned firms are in fields such as medical offices, assisted living facilities, and childcare. So if you are supporting entrepreneurs, that might be something, some industries you might want to study and provide some value on. And 14% are in fields such as legal support, tax prep, design services, consulting, and other technical support. 8% are administration support and waste management. 8% are transportation and warehousing. 6% in retail, and 6% in construction. So those are some popular areas for Black-owned businesses. States with the most Black-owned businesses: Florida, California, New York, Georgia, and Texas. These are states that have the most businesses. States that have the highest concentration of businesses: Washington, D.C., Georgia, Maryland, Mississippi, and Louisiana. Um, Washington, D.C. has the highest concentration of Black-owned businesses with um, employer-based businesses. Those are businesses that have at least one employee that's not the business owner. 15% are Black-owned businesses, and non-employer businesses, which represents the bulk of most businesses, it's 35% in Washington, D.C. So if you know some businesses in Washington, D.C., could be a good partnership opportunity. Some of the top 3 businesses, in the Black-owned businesses in the country is Worldwide Technology with $17 billion in annual revenue, Act One Group, $2.8 billion in annual revenue, and Bridgewater Interiors with $2 billion in average revenue. So there's some business owners out here that are doing it, that are successful. So we need to see more of those. Some good news as it relates to um, Black women-owned businesses: 32% saw an increase in revenue between 2019 and 2023, which is actually higher than the 11.2% growth rate for all women-owned businesses. So, despite some of the challenges that we're hearing about as it relates to uh, capital and contracts, we're still out here making it happen. Definitely something to be watched given the recent turn of events as it relates to changes within diversity, equity, and inclusion, and the availability of opportunities in the focus area, and a lot of fear that's been generated in that space. Um, let's see. Most businesses actually self-fund their businesses. So I think there's like a myth that people are getting grants to fund their business, but most of those are self-funded. And so that means it's coming from people's personal savings accounts, and maybe like a second job, which poses a problem, particularly for the Black community, which has some significant wealth disparities, with all of the disparities as it relates to pay inequities, um, disparities when it comes to the value of how our homes are appraised and valued, which a lot of people use home equity loans, which is dependent upon the value of your home to fund their businesses, and other financial drains that many of us in the Black community experience from, being overly fined, having a heavier student loan debt burden, and then maybe kind of supporting other family members, and predatory practices in terms of being targeted for specific types of loans, um, or services. So definitely some challenges, and there's some things that we need to face and address. Potential areas for policy. I would really want to hear from my local, state, and federal. Those are critical, not just the presidential election, but it's critical to pay attention to what your local candidates are not just saying, but doing, as well as the state, because a lot of federal dollars is actually funneled through the states, and then the states funnel that to local. So we need to pay attention on all fronts. Let's see what else. 52%, 51% versus 25% of Black-owned businesses expressed that credit availability was a financial challenge facing their business. This was from the Federal Reserve Bank's Small Business Credit Survey. And 67% of Black-owned businesses that were seeking funding to expand versus 52% of white-owned businesses seeking funding to expand, though they said that was what they were seeking funding to do. So again, these businesses are seem to be doing well, thriving, especially for early stage businesses, but their opportunities are being stunted by lack of access to capital. So that sounds like, again, another area to press our legislators and our council people and our presidential candidates on. Let's see. So, some of the historic programs that have typically supported Black-owned businesses and other quote unquote minority-owned businesses: SBA 8A, Minority Business Development Agency, private foundations, and state and local initiatives focus on access to contracts and capital. Some of those are being challenged in court. We're all very familiar with the Fearless Fund and the challenges that they face, even though congratulations to them and their new loan fund that they're launching. But I don't think we hear enough about the win that Hello Alice and Progressive Insurance faced as it relates to their awarding of Black grants specifically to Black-owned businesses. They were challenged and successfully won that case. And there are still entities out here that are giving, extending specific grants and loans to Black-owned businesses. So we keep hearing about the Fearless Fund and hearing of, oh, should we have these special initiatives? And obviously, there are some organizations that have decided that yes, we're going to continue to do this. So, some examples are NAACP has a number of grant opportunities. Power Shift Entrepreneur Grant, that's one of NAACP's, one of many grants that they have that are focused on Black-owned businesses. Her Rise Grant, that is Her Rise Micro Grant. It's focused on women of color. Shea Moisture has some grant programs focused on Black-owned businesses. BOSS Impact, BOSS Impact Fund, and Coalition to Back Black Businesses. That's the United Chamber of Commerce in partnership with the Black Chamber of Commerce and other entities. Let's see. Some other challenges that Black-owned businesses are saying that they're facing is reaching customers and growing sales is an operational challenge. That's 63% of Black-owned businesses identified that. So there's a big opportunity for us to improve our marketing and business development skills. And 53% of Black business owners identified hiring or retaining qualified staff as an operational challenge. So I think that's probably most businesses, and especially in light of remote work and caregiving challenges that employees are having, and or just the desire to work remotely. Or again, we talked about how many employees are looking to start their own businesses. So those are big challenges. If you're supporting business owners, or if you care about entrepreneurship in your community, these are some things that you should be focused on. Above and beyond is kind of like the normal things that everyone's been focused on. Let's see. Um, okay, as it relates to funding and access to credit, some problems that Black-owned businesses are faced is misinformation or lack of information when applying for capital. That's what I'm all about at Get the Bag, is helping to close those information gaps, because a big part of it is that. Having no relationship with lenders, that's a big part of securing capital, period, is having an established relationship, especially prior before you're even seeking capital. So I have a blog post that I even wrote about what does that mean to establish a business relationship with a lender or any type of person that's offering funding or even securing contracts. So if you are providing support to business owners, thinking about initiatives that you or programs that you can develop to help to close those relationship or social capital gaps. And then not knowing where to apply for capital. So I mean, it's overwhelming. There's so many options, should I apply for a loan? Should I apply for a grant? Should I apply should try to get investors? And so there's so many choices. Um, and I think as a Black business owner, you're aware of many of these disparities. And I think that's a big opportunity for us to improve ways of helping business owners and our friends, which includes, our friends and other business owners, people that are starting. If you've successfully secured capital, being a resource there, but not knowing where to apply for capital. And I recently did a presentation for Dayton Startup Week. And that was the whole focus of the presentation, was talking about alternative forms of capital and what expanding the universe of options that people consider when securing capital. So let's talk about what I am excited about and there's some things that inspire me. And I want to go to this press release about the Black Farmers Fund. Should. Okay. So this is a press release on, let me go back to the right one. That one. I want to go to this. Give me a second. Okay. So hopefully you can see this screen. Yes. Okay, good. Um, the Black Farmers Fund. So this was some news that was released last week. Black Farmers Fund raises 20 million in capital in its second fund to improve the Black food system. And just a little quote from the article: Black Farmer Funds for us, by us approach challenges traditional lending practices by placing funding decisions in the hands of experienced Black farmers and food system entrepreneurs. This model ensures that the community served have a direct voice in shaping their economic future, fostering a more inclusive and just food system. So I think this is a good example of uh, Black communities getting together and taking steps to address and close these capital gaps. So there are a number of other Black owned funds that are pulling together and looking at ways to close that capital gap. But I think this one is a pretty significant one, most recent example. And I think this is like the future. This is the future of where we need to be. In addition to in addition to uh, policy, right? Ensuring that we have the right policy measures in place. That's important for systemic change. I think there's also an opportunity for us to think more about ways that we can, um, through collective impact, that we can work together as we did, 100 years ago access to capital was not something that was readily available for Black-owned businesses, but they didn't let that deter them. They worked a lot in partnership with one another to support one another, either through providing patient loans or um, providing direct capital and or buying and supporting those businesses as they were, emerging and getting started. And I think those are practices that we could apply to today's environment. So these are some of the things that we'll talk about next week at well, this upcoming week on the 26th with our state of Black-owned businesses. And the conversation will be extended because it just won't just be me. It'll be three amazing entrepreneurs and audience participation, having some really robust discussions about what we're seeing, what's working, how can we do a better job of working more together, more collectively, and advocating for more capital and advocating for more contracts despite what's happening. I think now is not the time to shirk and back down. Now is the time to speak up and work together. And how can we be inspired by people that are finding ways to succeed, like some of those that we talked about earlier, those businesses that are increasing revenue and making things happen even in a challenging environment. So those will be the type of things that we'll discuss. In addition, um, we will have some good food. It'll be catered. The event will be catered by Dale's Catering, and there is a lot to do after the session. Session ends at 7, but there will be bar still open, so there'll be opportunities for more food and beverages and conversation. So hopefully, if you're in Cleveland, you can attend that event. It's 5:30 to 7 p.m. Tomorrow is the last day to register for the event, and you can find the registration link on uh, if you're on LinkedIn, you can find the registration link in my most recent post or pinned post. If you are on Facebook, you can see the registration link in um, my post promoting the event. So with that, thank you for your time. Thanks for watching today. And if you're in Cleveland, I hope to see you on the 26th at UnBar, 5:30 to 7 p.m.